Hello everyone. This is a letter written by Rabbi Baruch Ashlag on the labour in Torah. He starts off with a quotation from the Bible. "If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments." Leviticus chapter 22 verse 3. Rashi, the great commentator on the Bible, explains that this sentence is not just a poetic alliteration, but the two phrases, walking in my statutes and keeping my commandments, refer to two different aspects of Torah. The first one, walking in my statutes, refers to the labouring in the study of the Torah, whereas keeping the commandments means fulfilling the commandments in actual practice. But Rabbi Baruch Shalom Ashlag, the great Kabbalist, says we need to take this further. We need to ask, why was it necessary for the Torah to state that we need to labour in the study of the Torah? Since it is certainly obvious that if we're going to keep the commandments in a practical way, we need to learn what the Torah requires of us in keeping them. This type of study may be likened to reading the instructions before using a new piece of equipment. That's considered as part and parcel of the practical side of life and should not be considered a study as such. It therefore follows that the labour in the study of the Torah that Rashi tells us is implied in the phrase walking in my statutes refers to a different type of study of the Torah, not only that which is involved in knowing how to do the mitzvahs in a practical way. The matter is that even when we know what the mitzvot are and how to fulfill them, our body, which is the Kabbalistic term for our own selfish love, does not want to fulfill these mitzvot unless it can see that it's going to receive something positive for doing so. The will to receive for ourselves alone is our inbuilt nature. Therefore, we tend to oppose any action which we cannot see the reason for, or an action where we do not expect to gain anything. So, any effort which is unconditional in its nature, or giving benefit when we do not receive anything, is something that we tend to oppose. Since the mitzvot, by their very nature, involve doing actions which demand faith and may go against our logical, rational mind, or involve giving unconditionally, it is very hard for us to fulfill them in the way they are meant to be carried out, which is not for the sake of any reward, but simply because that way we come into affinity of form with God. For example, there is a mitzvah of loving God, but only very exceptional people are actually able to carry this out in practice because everyone is so caught up in loving themselves. So in order that we are able to fulfill the mitzvot in the way they are meant to be carried out, which is unconditionally, we are given the light of Torah. As the sages have said, I created the evil inclination, I gave the Torah as a healing spice. The question is, how does the Torah affect its role as a healing spice or a medicine for our inbuilt selfish love? The answer is, there is a special illumination within the Torah that brings a person to the good way. The Torah is an affinity of form with the soul and gives light to the soul. So by studying the Torah with the intention of connecting with the Creator, this gives the person the extra strength he needs to withstand the resistance of his inbuilt selfish love, and thus he gains the power to fulfill the mitzvot of the Torah in the correct way, which is to say unconditionally. For this type of study of the Torah, all the Torah is efficacious in the light that is within it, and it is therefore not crucial whether a person in this respect studies the practical aspects of the mitzvot, or whether he studies the stories of creation, the stories of our forefathers as they appear in Genesis, or the story of the children of Israel in Egypt. Equally, the prophetic visions of the prophets and the intimate messages of the Psalms all have this same light. Not only the written law, but the oral law as well, which contains the ethics of the fathers, the Mishnahs, the unfolding of the Talmud, the Midrash, the great commentators, and the teachings of the great Hasidic masters, all have the power to give us this light and help us fulfill the mitzvot in actual practice. And thus Rabbi Baruch Ashlag writes, how great is the power of the labour of Torah. It has the power to transform all the evil that there is in a man so that he can become good. Now we can truly see that the two halves of the scriptural verse with which we started this talk truly belong together and make up one whole, just as the Torah itself is one whole. And then, if we look at the continuation in Leviticus, we see, if you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments, then I will give rain in its season, and the earth will yield its produce. If we look at this verse according to the understanding that the language of the Kabbalah gives us, then the rain in its season and the produce of the earth refers to the bounty, the goodness that God wants to give the souls and the created beings who are termed the Malchut, or the earth. And the passage concludes, then I will walk amongst you, and I will be for you your God, and you will be for me a people. May we all be blessed to labour in Torah, and to merit the light that is within it, to transform the evil that is within us to become good, and we will become in affinity of form, which is dveikut with God.